Good morning. This is going to be a brief teaching presentation for students to learn how to, or to help them learn how to prepare for their research paper by evaluating websites using certain criteria, by learning how to create APA parenthetical citations, or at least some of the basics, and how to create a reference page using APA format. First, let's take a look at how you can use certain criteria to evaluate web sources on the internet for you to incorporate into your research paper or presentation. One thing that you want to consider right up front is how relevant is the topic on a certain website or web page to your particular paper or presentation. If you're finding information on the website that's not directly relevant or only tangentially or partially relevant, you might want to search around and see if you can find some other sources that might be a little bit more directly related to your particular topic. Next, check to see if the website indicates the last time that it was updated. If a website has been updated within the past 6 months or so, it might be more reliable than a website that doesn't have a date that says when it was updated, or a website that hasn't been updated in a year, 3, 5 years, or more. Who sponsors that particular website? One indication that you can get to see how a website is sponsored or who authored that website or what type of institution it came from is by looking at the final extension at the end of that web address. For example, websites that end in .edu come from educational institutions such as colleges and universities. Websites that end in .gov come from some branch or some entity of the government. So websites that come from either educational institutions or government websites generally can be or generally are regarded as relatively reliable, and you should feel relatively confident that the information you're pulling from these type of websites is generally up to date and accurate. Next, let's take a look at the authors of your article, if possible. Some websites, of course, do not list who the author or authors of those web pages are. So see if you can first identify who the author or authors are. So you can try to see if that person or people are experts on that particular subject. Did they study or conduct extensive research on the topic that they're addressing? Or have they been an expert in the field or been working in the field for several years? Does the author or do the authors address alternate viewpoints in their web article or in their web page? If the article appears to be largely or completely one-sided in nature, that might not be an article that might not be the type of article that you would want to bring into your research project, paper, or presentation. Can you detect any author biases in that website or in that article? Can you tell if or get a hint if that author or authors are presenting information in a nature where it's not balanced and it doesn't appear to be showing the overall scope of the nature of that particular topic? And does the website from which that article came from have a certain reputation? For example, are you getting your information off of the NewYorkTimes.com, or are you getting it from another established, recognized, reputable web source? Does that website have a certain reputation for quality, accuracy, and integrity? And does the information found on that web page or in that article reflect current thinking in that particular field of study? Have you seen, does the information in that website seem consistent and relevant with other research materials that you've been gathering for your research project, be that in an online form or in print form? If information seems a little bit inconsistent with other information that you've been researching on that topic, you might want to continue doing a little more digging and a little bit more investigating to see if that information is appropriate to import or to include in your research project. Next, let's take a look at objectivity and accuracy. Does the article or website that you are getting information from have any advertising on it? And if it does, how does that advertising appear? Is it clearly separated from the article, or does the advertising almost seem to blend in with the article and try to appear as if it's a part of the topic being discussed? Are facts and opinions clearly identified or delineated in your internet web source? In other words, does the author or authors clearly indicate that their opinion on a topic is simply their opinion and not a matter of fact? And are facts clearly stated? In other words, they could say something like a research conducted in 2007 by such and such institution indicated that 1, 2, and 3. That would be perhaps a matter of fact, or at least the research that they found indicated that information. It's a fact that this study said that they had this information or came up with these results. Does the author or do the authors cite their sources from where they got their facts, from where they got their data or statistics? If they cite that information in a bibliographic or reference portion of the website, you can go look at that bibliography or look at the references or look at those citations, and you can try and track down where they got their statistics from, where they got their data from, where they got their information that they used to support their argument or that they used to make their case. And that can add credibility to that particular article. And do you notice any grammatical or spelling errors in that particular article or document? If you're noticing spelling errors or grammar errors, chances are that document has not been thoroughly proofread, and it was probably put up there on a spur of the moment, perhaps in a somewhat haphazard manner. You don't really know. But if you can see grammar or spelling errors, that's almost a red flag to indicate that, hey, wait a minute here, something isn't quite right. Somebody really didn't go through this thoroughly and really pay close enough attention to what they were writing. The next section of this presentation will deal with some of the basics of APA parenthetical citation, some of the basic forms of citation. We won't have enough chance or enough time to cover all of them, but here are some of the main ones. First, when you're using parenthetical citations in APA format, there's no need to cite the author's first name in the text itself. Typically, the publication date will simply follow the author's last name. This is perhaps one of the most common forms of parenthetical citation. For example, in the following quote or the following text, as you'll see in red, the year 2007 is in parentheses, and it immediately comes after the author's last name, Johnson. Johnson space parentheses 2007 parentheses indicated the following. That's one of the most common parenthetical citation forms in APA format. If the author's name is not, if you do not write the author's name in the text, you can add it to the citation in parentheses as follows. Identity is created through communicative interactions with self and others. Parentheses, Hall, comma, space, the year it was written, parentheses, followed by the period at the very end of that sentence. So if you do not identify the author in the sentence itself, you should put it in parentheses, followed by a comma, space, the year it was published, another parentheses, and a period or appropriate punctuation to end your sentence. If two authors wrote the document that you're citing, always be sure to cite both last names of those two authors. For example, here in red text, it says Kyles and Jacoby, then a space, parentheses, the year the publication was written, and another parentheses, and then you continue on with the rest of the sentence. So when two authors publish a document or publish a piece of information that you're citing, be sure to indicate both of their last names accordingly. If you're using a short, exact quotation, like you're quoting something word for word from a source, and you're not just paraphrasing or summarizing what those authors says, be sure to use both quotation marks around the part that you're quoting word for word and cite the page number. Now these guidelines are for relatively short quotes. If you have much longer quotes, say several lines in length, then you're going to want to use what's referred to as a block quote, and that's something we'll cover in another presentation. But for this particular short quote, let's use the following format. So here it says, Nagel notes that the individual ethnic identification is, in red, quotation marks. This is where I'm beginning to quote exactly what Nagel has said, strongly limited and influenced and so forth, until we get to the very last line which reads, of various ethnicities. Then use a final quotation right after the last word that you quoted, then a space, parentheses, lowercase p, period, space, and then note the page number from or numbers from which you got that information, followed by another parentheses, and then end that quotation or end that sentence with appropriate punctuation. In this case, it's a period. So in this case, the period will come at the very, very end of the sentence after the citation for the page number. Okay, the last portion of this brief presentation is going to show how you can use an online citation builder to assist you in the creation of references for a reference page. This website is found at www.stylewizard.com. And so let me click on the APA wizard here, click continue on the next page. Now, please make sure to follow the criteria on this particular website. For example, how many authors wrote the document you're citing and what type of work it is. In this case, I'm going to cite a document that came or was written by one author and happens to be a journal article. So then I click on Full Wizard and then click Submit. As you type in the author's name, be sure to follow the examples that they show here. If you do not follow the proper format, your citation will not be created appropriate. For this particular article, it was written by someone with the last name of Kim, who has the first name starts with the letter Y, and so does their middle name. So that's the proper format. Article was written in 1994, put in the year in the format shown here. For the article title, be sure to follow capitalization norms for APA format as found here. Oops, the article title, my mistake. And then the journal title, following traditional capitalization norms. You then want to type in the volume and issue number accordingly, following the format listed. In this case, volume 4, issue number 1. And then the page numbers in which the article came from within that journal, within this journal. And then I click on Build Citation. This wizard has helped me, Style Wizard has helped me to create a citation that I can then copy and then paste into my reference page accordingly. Now when you do this, make sure you list each author's last name alphabetically on your reference page. So here I'm going to put this citation right in here where it should fall alphabetically. And that is how you can use an online citation builder to assist you in the creation of your reference page in APA format. Thank you.